Christmas in which I lost 9 pounds. It was a terrible week. Terrible week. And I've since gained 2 pounds back, but I feel much better. And the stomach flu, man. I don't wish it on anyone, and I definitely will take the vaccine next year. I won't, gloss over that one. So I'm glad to have you guys. There's a lot of stuff going on, but in playoffs and then also in the Kendrick Drake beef space, which Brian wanted to talk about. I'm really excited to get you guys' perspectives on that. How are you, Sebastian? How are you, Brian?
Good. In a situation where you get sick like yourself and you lose 10 pounds, is the goal to just gain it all back? Or like, how does that work?
You gain it back fast.
I've thankfully never been that sick where I've like lost 10 pounds in a week or whatever. I've never, thankfully, knock on wood, I've never actually been that sick.
For 3 days, I could not even eat like one ice chip, one sip of Gatorade. It was either coming up top or down below. Like all throughout the night, could not lay down. It was like 3 nights of hell. And then now I feel like almost 90% better. So I'm just so grateful. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Was it a situation where it was, I don't know how to delicately phrase this.
Ass to mouth?
Both end situation.
Yeah, it was
ass to mouth.
There you go.
Was. Yeah, it was ass to mouth. Yeah. Literally within 5 minutes, I'm taking the shit, and then I got to throw up in the same toilet. Let me clean it really quick and try to sanitize everything, and then boom.
That's the worst fucking thing. Was it a situation where, you'd wake up?
No, so I would be okay for 2 hours, and then from 12 to 7 a.m. I would try to drink water. It would come up. I would try to drink eat a cracker. It would come up. So I'd just be pacing until my stomach felt fine, and then it would come out the other way anyway. So it was just a busting.
Were you able to sleep? Is what I'm saying, basically.
No, not for those 3 days. For those 3 days, I slept probably 5 or 6 hours. It was rough.
The worst.
Yeah. But on to lighter things. I noticed something in the group chat that before we get started in earnest, I wanted to ask you guys is that it was about I call it Baby Reindeer Gate. Is that all you guys were talking about this Baby Reindeer show? Is that the right one, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I have Netflix, I have HBO, my dad has cable, so I should have access to this, but it has never come across my radar once. And I'm just curious how you guys, one, learned of it, and two, was is that an organic process where you just scroll through Netflix for new shows or something?
It was number one.
It was number one, so you just clicked it. That's why. Is that the reason?
My mom told me to watch it, but I also saw it under number one on the Netflix new shows. So they have the top 10s.
Yeah. So you use that as a reference for what to watch when you go to these streaming websites? Is that
not
fair?
really? I will look at the top 10 to see if anything's interesting.
I'll typically see the number one show, and I don't really feel compelled to watch it, but if I'm hearing other people talk about it, somebody recommends it to me, or it pops up in random reviews, then I'll feel more compelled to watch it. And then if one of my friends or if the group chat is specifically talking about it, I'll be like, okay, I'll watch an episode at least, right? And then
that's the process usually.
Yeah.
What was astounding to me was that no one had mentioned Baby Reindeer in the group chat before, but literally you, Arjun, Jay Pons, Brian, Sebastian, all said watched it, and not only watched an episode, but you watched all of it.
It's a pretty easy watch, thankfully. This one, every episode's only half an hour, and there's only 7 episodes. So
but isn't it about a fat stalker, and she's just
yes,
she's being a big bust, Martha.
Yeah, okay. but the main guy is also being quite a big bust as well.
Yeah,
that's kind of the interesting. That's the interesting part of the show.
So he's equally busty. Okay,
pretty much.
It's a new era of television where I often feel like the main character is actually the worst fucking character in the entire show.
What other shows?
I've had a similar experience with a lot of shows I've watched recently where I like a lot of the auxiliary characters, but I'm just man, this main character fucking sucks. The thing happened with Tokyo Vice too. I thought Jake sucked ass, but everybody else was excellent.
Jake, the white guy, Angel,
the main guy,
and Sword guy for sure. Yeah, the actual reporter. Yeah. So I tried.
Adelstein's son.
Yeah, Adelstein. Jacob Adelstein, dude.
What do you guys think about Shogun? Any interest in Shogun?
I started watching it this week, and I didn't realize 70% of it was in Japanese, and it seemed pretty good.
Up your alley, Brian.
But the problem with it was I was pretty tired, and like if something is going to be mainly subtitles, I have to like lock in a little bit more.
For sure.
Tokyo Vice has a lot more English dialogue, so you can watch. It's a little easier to watch. But Shogun seemed really good from like the half hour I watched. It just was like before bed, and I was reading too much, and my eyes were getting pretty tired.
Yeah, I mean, similarly for me, I'm interested in watching Shogun, but I see it as another show that I have to get very invested in.
Yeah.
And for me, that makes me, I'm sure the show is great, but there's just so much things to watch, so many things to listen to. Sometimes when I see a show that's very critically acclaimed, I mean, similar to Sebastian, especially if it's subtitled, it's like, okay, like I might not want to dedicate as much time to this right now. When I do, who knows? But
it'll be an undertaking for sure. So
that happened with White Lotus, though. Like, I didn't watch White Lotus for like 2 years, basically, and then I watched like the first and second season, within a week, because they were all fully out. And I was like, "This is great," like so. Yeah, maybe I'll get to it eventually. So
the thing with Shogun also is the episodes are pretty long. They're like over an hour long each one. So it's, I don't know. I feel like it's a show where you do have to lock in pretty hard. So I will get to it because I was intrigued by what I saw, but yeah, I'm putting it off for now because I'm enjoying like The Sympathizer on HBO.
Hey. Good,
I have
dude.
thoughts on it. It's a very good show, but I think some of it would be very traumatic.
We need to come back
it's
for
pretty
True
horrible,
Detective,
some
man.
of the depiction.
Something that's actually like worth watching together instead of True Detective. Yeah, but after that I got inspired to like be spontaneous and just pick a show and watch it, and I picked Three Body Problem. It was okay. Yeah, like it. I only watched 2 episodes. I'm only 2 episodes in, but within that amount of time, I already could tell like, oh, it's the Game of Thrones showrunners, same mistakes happening over and over again. Like there's, I don't know. I wasn't that impressed. It seems like a chill premise, but that teaches me for trying something new.
I've heard the original adaptation is much better. The one
it's a Chinese novel, right?
Yeah, the Chinese adaptation I've heard is like excellent, which is probably what I'll end up watching.
I read the first book, so pretty familiar with it. I know it ended up being like 5 books or something like that, but I did like the first book.
Oh, there's more than I thought. There's only 1 book, and then
no, there's like 5 or something. like that.
For sure. Okay. That gives me more confidence. They don't know how to go off script at all, so after the first one ended. So okay, that's our little TV recap. I just wanted to get the pulse of how you guys find new TV shows. New stuff, dude. All right, Brian, you take it away. You wanted to talk about Drake and Kendrick, so tell us about it.
I mean, I think it's a great cultural moment, and of course, please, Sebastian, cut in as you please. But I'll give a kind of like a quick summary of the timeline, at least kind of how we got here. I'll keep it pretty cursory because I think there's just a lot more discussion that could be had with, I don't know, the implications of their careers, where this lies in, like seriously, and where this lies in, famous beefs, and that might be a little allusion to our top 5. But I mean, essentially, the first way it started off is that Drake and Cole had a song called First Person Shooter. And within First Person Shooter, they're basically saying there's a line that essentially alludes to Drake, Cole, and Kendrick being like the big 3, essentially like the big 3 rappers of the generation, the top 3 guys. A little bit after that, Kendrick on a song with, I think it was Future, and Metro produced it. Metro Boomin produced it, called Like That. In his verse, he basically kind of like directly references Drake, and says he's a problem. And then, there's a line that directly responds to what Cole and Drake were saying that says, fuck the big 3, it's just the big me. So Kendrick's saying, like, it's not any of you guys. Like, you guys can't. I'm the man. I'm the boogeyman. I'm rap's boogeyman. I'm Kendrick Lamar. And so I would say for because first person shooter wasn't really like a direct addressing to anybody, Kendrick's response to like that in like that, I'd say was like the spark that kind of set off the ensuing beef. Soon after, and I'm focusing just mainly on like Cole, who kind of dipped out, which I'll talk about. Drake and Kendrick. And so yeah, after like that, Cole releases so this is like a specific diss track called 7 Minute Drill. That's essentially a diss on Kendrick. But then the funny thing is within 2 days, within 48 hours, at one of his concerts, J. Cole basically says, you know what, man, I'm getting too old for beefs. This is just kind of like friendly jabs. I really, kind of in J. Cole fashion, I really realized this isn't me. I'm not filled with that kind of hatred, and et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of people were giving him flack for it. Like, oh, like you're supposed to be part of this big three, or you're supposed to be one of the top guys, and you're dipping out. Like you're weak. You're weak, basically. So that like, that kind of ended up being another thing. Drake releases Push-Ups, which is also a diss on Kendrick. And the whole diss is basically about, Kendrick, you're short. Kendrick, your music kind of sucks. Like seriously, like, oh, Kendrick, you're small. Like kind of just surface level, kind of corny Drake stuff. And I might be a little biased because I'm not the biggest Drake fan either, but I don't hate the guy. But it basically isn't that strong of a diss. He also puts out Tailor-Made Freestyle. This is where a lot of people would say, out of the whole beef, this is the one that should receive the most criticism, because he has like an AI Tupac and an AI Snoop open the song. Like, he uses like the new AI technology to make that a part of the song. And people are like, dude, like, you're fucking whack, basically. You're fucking whack. Oh yeah, go ahead, Sebastian.
Annoyed me most about Tailor-Made, the AI shit was really corny. The problem with the AI also was it sounded like fucking Drake rapping with Tupac and Snoop voice. The flow was so Drake sounding, and it was like, I don't want to hear a fucking Tupac voice rapping in Drake fashion. Like, if you're gonna do a Tupac AI voice, like, try to imitate the flow. It's pretty iconic. Like, don't go. It really bugged me. I thought it was extremely fucking corny. I was glad that like the Tupac estate responded with like a cease and desist, I believe, which cease and desists do seem to be.
It's pretty disrespectful, man.
Yeah,
let the man lie and rest, dude.
So cease and desist seem to be a theme in this beef, which is kind of funny. But that one is probably the one warranted one.
I'm reading here that Tupac and Snoop Dogg were Kendrick's like idols, and that's why Drake used them. Is that true?
Because they're they're LA, West Coast
idols,
icons essentially. They're both West Coast icons, and so I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what Drake was trying to poke at, essentially. Like these are the West Coast idols, and whatever. They're on my song. They're on my song. Whatever,
okay, for sure.
It was, I guess, creative from a standpoint of people thought Push-Ups initially when it dropped was an AI song because it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, it did not drop on DSPs initially. It dropped just like on Twitter, I think, and people were like, "Is this really Drake?" And like he finally claimed it and put it on the DSPs. But initially people were pretty like, "Is this really Drake? Like, this is cool, I guess, but we can't tell." And then he confirmed it. But I think that's what he was kind of parodying. It just came off a bit corny, like, which seems to be a word that is going to fly around a lot.
Which will be the theme for the beef, basically.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian, I interrupted.
No, please. I mean, I think there's lots of it's a long beef, so I can't really get to the end without you guys. You can't not having any questions and any kind of interjection.
Then let me ask you this question here. So let's establish bias. Brian, you said you're identifying more with Kendrick, but you don't hate Drake. Is that fair?
I very notoriously throughout Drake's career have criticized him for being just like a soft kind of bitch, basically. You know, like, you know,
That's pretty biased, bro.
Yeah, whoa.
but I think his music is catchy, and I'll give him credit for making catchy kind of like pop hip hop music. Like I'll give him credit for that. And I think he like does the singing thing, you know. I think it's good. So like, but in terms of like who he is as a human, I've never been a huge Drake fan, and I like Kendrick Lamar a lot more, but you know, I wouldn't say like I'm a mad Kendrick fan either, right? I probably like Kendrick's music more, but per criticisms that, you know, even Drake made, like I do think that sometimes he can be excessively thoughtful and the music isn't like as great, you know what I mean? But I do like, again, similarly, I don't like dislike him or like him. It's just that's just kind of like my judgment, my personal judgment of their music.
So I'll go next, Steve. Just I feel like I'm one step removed from Brian, probably below. Like I don't know that many of their songs. I know they're both capable of producing like in their own way. Like Brian said, Drake has his catchy like hip hop singing type thing, and then Kendrick lyrically is very good. I don't know like in many of their albums or any of their songs, so I feel like I don't have any strong convictions either way. And whatever you guys tell me at the end, I'll be able to like process without that much bias. My question to you guys is like, let's say you got 2 free tickets, or like got tickets to each show for free. Would you go to them?
Yeah, I'd go.
Yeah, I'd go to either one probably.
Yeah, I'd go. Yeah.
What do you pay for it? What do you pay for it?
I would not pay for it.
Either.
I'd pay for Kendrick.
Yeah, I'd probably pay for Kendrick.
You pay for Kendrick, but you wouldn't pay for Drake.
I'm not trying to like just cruise with the homies to Drake, honestly.
No, not with the homies. It could be with a chick or whatever, Brian.
I have been to a Drake concert.
Me too, technically.
Yeah, I paid for a Drake concert a long time ago, probably back in 2012 or something around there. But my feelings are complicated because I've been critical of both of them.
Yeah.
What was like Kendrick is probably one of the greatest rappers of all time.
Yeah.
Just lyrically, the way he's able to put rhymes together, his flow. I think he's probably the most talented rapper of this generation. Cole is probably close to him, although I think Cole sometimes he's a little bit lackluster in some of his delivery. Drake, I check for both of their albums every single time they release. I'll listen to a Drake album every single time because it's a big cultural event. And at a certain point, I've just gotten extremely fucking tired of every release being so formulaic, so lackluster, not talking about shit. I feel like he's fallen off from what made him appealing to me in the first place, because I do think Drake, when he was emotional and singing about real shit, like, was a very appealing artist. I find fake tough guy rapper Drake to just be very repetitive and not an appealing act. I don't enjoy listening to him talk about his like lifestyle, the private jets. I don't find it relatable. I think most of his fans would be capping if they say it is relatable, because I think most of his fans don't have that level of wealth either. I think when people
yeah, for sure.
But they identify with it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think when people get excited about Drake being like, oh, he's talking that shit, I don't find him to be talking that shit. I don't think that those people really know what that even means, honestly, because it's not. It's consumerism music.
Let me finish. This is kind of what I wanted to talk about. So let me.
I got the pulse from both of you. Basically, you would go for free, and you lean pretty heavily towards Kendrick.
I just think he's a better MC.
Yeah, he is a better rapper.
Maybe Brian a tad less so.
Tad less so what? Kendrick?
Kendrick favored than Sebastian.
I
actually think I like Drake more than Brian, honestly.
Yeah, honestly.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Like he's even released a song. He released a few songs during COVID that I thought were really good. There was like a song called Grease with DJ Khaled that I loved. I thought it was phenomenal.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Ryan, go on.
No. Please don't apologize. Well, we left off tailor-made deepfake voice with Tupac and Snoop. And so what happens is that there's a lull in response, and then I think it takes basically a week maybe even a little more. You hear nothing from Kendrick, and everybody's like,
It was
oh,
19 days, I believe.
Oh, okay. It was yeah. You're like, yeah. Basically, like what's going on with Kendrick. He's scared, whatever. Blah blah blah, and then Kendrick releases Euphoria, and it's a banger. Like has a cool kind of cool jazzy low key riff, and then it goes into like a pretty hard beat. He starts to go on really hard on Drake, starting to so it starts to get a little more personal. This is where he starts introducing this idea that Drake is a master manipulator. Straight up calling him a liar. He basically says, like, I hate the way that you walk. I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you basically do everything. Like, he's just straight calling him out. Yeah, really good song. They played it on Inside the NBA. They played it, like on a transition. And so now the beef is starting to kind of ripple out, right, into little, not that it wasn't paid attention to before, but it's like, okay, now it's starting to get very large. A lot of people have their eyes on it. And then, so after Euphoria, Kendrick releases a song called 616 in LA. And this was in the morning of just a few days ago, May 3rd. And the reason why it's titled that is because Drake titles a lot of his songs like that, just like a timestamp. And so he was kind of like, giving a little bit of allusion to Drake, but 616 in LA. It's a pretty good song. He starts to put in the information that a lot of people around Drake actually hate him, and that Kendrick kind of has informants in Drake's camp. I'd say that's kind of like one of the more important things of this particular diss track, that everybody is around you, Drake, because you're kind of like a cash cow, but you're a bully, you're a terrible person. Everybody on your team is whispering that you deserve it, right? And so goes pretty hard, but this day is probably like one of the more monumental days of rap beef, because later in the evening, Drake releases Family Matters. And so he goes pretty hard on Family Matters. The main points of this is that he implies that one of Drake's kids isn't his, it's Dave Freeze. Dave Freeze is a close person to Kendrick. Kids. Yeah, of Kendrick. Yeah. One of Kendrick's kids is Dave Freeze, and Dave Freeze is one of Kendrick's like close, confidants essentially. And then also alleges that he is, he has domestically abused his wife, and he's covered it up in the past. Right, and then it's more or less kind of just like and then the rest of the song, obviously there's other stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, I have a big dick. You've seen the videos. Like whatever, you're small, like back to the other stuff, but those are like kind of like the two key points of information. And then the crazy thing about it was, which also further substantiates that Kendrick might have people in Drake's camp, is probably less than an hour, maybe I'll put it at 40 minutes after Family Matters releases. So before the hype can even be generated with it, Kendrick releases Meet the Grams. And I honestly think the song is like so damn crazy. And Meet the Grams, obviously, Aubrey Graham is Drake's real name, so it's a reference to Family Matters. There's a connection there between Family Matters and Meet the Grams. Yeah, Meet the Grams is the best way I could describe it. Is like, it's like listening to like a horror movie where Kendrick is like Drake's demon and just telling him, dude, he's addressing a lot of people in his family, his son, his mom, his dad. He alleges that Drake has another hidden child that is 11 years old. That's a daughter. When he's addressing his mom, he says that Drake is a horrible person, that he should die. Like says that he should die twice in this song, and that's when you're starting to go really crazy. The gloves are off, but it's also, he kind of alleges that Drake is a pedophile essentially, or like a sex pest at the very best interpretation. He's just like a sex pest and a horrible embodiment of just human greed and hedonism. He's just like a total
drug addict,
slime. Drug addict, just a total slime ball essentially. And I think this song really sticks out because it obviously took the beef to a whole nother level. And I think when people are listening to this, while the other ones could kind of be perceived as like, oh, this is like kind of a bop, this one is just straight, yeah, like some kind of horror film or something.
So,
where
question for you. You said it. You had my question like perfectly like planned out. Like before Meet the Grams or Grams, would you say it was like mostly repairable, the beef? And then once past this point, it became like, okay, this is serious and it's bubbled into something deeper. That could it have been?
I'd say Family Matters probably started to cross the line.
Okay,
you know, because you're saying that one of Kendrick's kids isn't his, you know, and that he beats his wife. That's crossing the line, and that's the point of Meet the Grams. He says in it, like, and he only released it 20 minutes later or 30 minutes later, whatever. So there must have been an informant. That's the theory.
That's crazy.
Right?
That's crazy.
That must have told him that the next song is, you know, he says this about your kid and your wife or your fiance or whatever.
That morning also, was that the morning where Kendrick released 616 in LA also?
Yes,
which was
same day.
So okay, yeah, for sure.
Same
so
day.
Releases that, and then Drake releases Family Matters.
And then Meet the Grams, all in the same day. Yeah, and so a lot of people are saying, you know, if there was any debate, Kendrick's really taking it to another level with Meet the Grams. And, you know, it's hard to respond to that, so Drake doesn't say anything. And then the next day, he releases Not Like Us. And Not Like Us, Not Like Us is like a club banger. And because he's basically responding to the criticism, especially with Meet the Grams, people were saying, oh, Kendrick is not even rapping. He's just, you know, it's spoken word. You know, he's not even like, he can't make like hype rap. And that's like the one thing that I will give to Family Matters. While I think as a diss track, it's pretty lame. You know, as like another Drake song, it's like, okay, like it's kind of hype to listen to. Like, I'll give it that. You know, I'm not gonna shy away from that. But as a diss track, I think it's really weak. And then in response to that, essentially, Kendrick releases Not Like Us. It's a club banger. And specifically in it, he is just outright saying Drake is a pedophile. You know, he, like, obviously one of Drake's famous albums is Certified Lover Boy, and this isn't even like a good rhyme, but he just says Certified Lover Boy, no, certified pedophile. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, man. Like, he's just outright saying it. He makes a great bar about, you know, Drake is trying to strike a chord. It's probably A minor. You know,
that was great.
It's fucking sick bar. And at this point, I think it's really bled into, me and Sebastian were talking about while it was happening, like, is this even going to be allowed to be played in like clubs, even though it's a club banger?
I said yes.
And Sebastian said immediately, I guarantee it. You know what I mean? And then it might happen tonight. I think that's what Sebastian said. It might happen tonight. And then, yeah, basically that night, you start seeing videos of just clubs in LA playing Not Like Us. Rick Ross in Vegas, I believe, playing Not Like Us. You know what I mean? And it's and everybody's getting hyped to it, and it's a hype song being played in the club too. Drake is a piece of shit and a pedophile. You know, it's like, that's pretty bad, man. That's pretty bad.
I thought it was going to be like a West Coast thing. When I started seeing videos popping up from like New York and Atlanta, I was like, that's pretty insane. Like,
yeah.
People at brunches in Atlanta listening to Not Like Us. And DJ just screaming out, Certified Lover Boy, nah, certified. And then the crowd singing along. I was like, no, dude, like, what's going on here? Like, this is insane.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty crazy at this point. Yeah, and that's kind of like, that's kind of like the implication, right? Like once you accuse somebody, of being a pedophile, and then people are screaming it at the club, there's no going back from this, you know, regardless of what happens at the end of the beef. Kendrick Lamar has to straight up come out in public eye and said, like, Drake is the worst person in the world and an abuser, you know, and an abuser. And like, there's just no coming back from this. I'll end it and then we could just open it up. But yesterday, in response to Not Like Us and Meet the Grams, even though it might just be too far gone because like the effect that Meet the Grams and Not Like Us had was just too meteoric, but he releases a song in response to Kendrick called The Heart Part 6. You know, it's supposed to be more serious, but it's just a very weak response in my opinion. But
I thought it was weak. Yeah.
But to give due credit to the things that he was trying to say, he's trying to say that that he there was a mole, that it's like a double agent, crossed Kendrick, and so like all of his information's wrong is one thing. He says in the song like I'm too famous to be an abuser, essentially. That like, oh, if I was an abuser, I'd be caught by now, which is a terrible line. And I think right now, unless Kendrick is still hungry for more, that's kind of where we are with the beef. The Heart Part 6 released by Drake, and seemingly, in my eyes, as unbiased as I'll try to be, Kendrick is up by a lot, and this is legacy changing stuff in the long run. This is legacy changing stuff in terms of their careers. This doesn't even go into like, and so let's start there. What do you guys think is like the next outcome of this? What are kind of the more ripple effects of Kendrick's career, the rap game, Drake's career, etc., etc.?
Drake has to drop another diss track if he's like trying to get back into this, because the Heart Part 6, you can't release a defense lawyer type track as like your last outgoing thing. It was like a defense lawyer like trying to wrap up a trial really quickly. And I mean, I honestly just wouldn't have bothered with it. I would have probably dipped out and like been silent for a while if I was him. I understand. Academics tough, kind of put it well.
I think it was a lose in all situations,
right? Yeah.
I don't think you should. Those allegations are really serious, and I think it's a lose-lose where you basically kind of just have to hope they go away. I don't know. I wouldn't have given them credence if I was him. I think this goes into
how Drake has a need to be liked, though. Like he couldn't just lie down.
His fans would have been fine with it. He still has a really large fan base, and
of course, man.
Didn't the Heart Part 6 get like 30 million already? 30 million views on YouTube already?
Did it?
Something 35?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Does it? I thought it was the weakest of all of them. He sounds tired on it.
12 million, only 12 million. Okay, maybe I misread.
No, not like us has like 20 million because it's a banger and people have been playing it a lot.
Okay, for sure.
I have a really big problem with the whole "I fed you false information" claim, because it's not. I actually view it as total bullshit. I don't believe him. Mainly because the night Kendrick dropped "Meet the Grams," he took to his Instagram story to say, if I have a daughter, show me where she is, or something of that nature. So if you were feeding information, you knew that it was false. Why did you have to go on your Instagram story say that? Why would you not show receipts of you sending out false information? Like, you definitely have those if you were doing that. So I think he's largely full of shit, and I think it's a really bad look currently.
It's also he's known
to be like a white flag. Also,
he's known to be somebody who really gets into like the meme game, basically. He's on Twitter, he's on whatever, YouTube comments, Instagram comments. So, and this is like a theory that was being put out as well, like, oh, Kendrick has faced false information from Drake. So that for me is also, he might have just seen that and saw that was a winning path. Like, oh, if this was what Drake did and he is, ninth dimension genius. And he probably saw that and was like, I have to say something of this nature to not be overrun, essentially.
That was another problem with the response. It seems like he took a lot of things people were saying from Twitter and just threw them all into a song. Like every defense
AI generator.
No, more so like I read all what my fanboys were saying over the last few days to defend me, so I'll put them all in one song.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. It could have been a lot stronger. Anthony Fantano pointed out that Drake says something
about
that
video, actually.
I never give a minor a second look, and he was laughing because he was like, so you give them a first look? Like, what does that mean? Like, which I thought was maybe a little bit corny from Fentano, but it was kind of like a misstep if you're trying to deny that allegation.
For sure. He's
There's
scrambling, dude.
another aspect of it. He misunderstood Mother I, which he was saying Kendrick said that he got molested when Kendrick actually said he never got molested. His mother just didn't believe him because she herself had been abused as a child. So his team of writers and him fucked that up really badly. And also, even if Kendrick had said he was being molested, being like, "Yo, fam, you were molested," haha, is really, really fucked up. Like, it's not a good line of
terrible
dissing. But to be so lazy that you don't get 2 minutes into your rival's song when you're trying to use that to diss them, it just shows like a lack of preparation. And I think it
talent.
shows why.
I think it's just a lack of talent, dude.
I think we've seen Drake win a beef with a rapper who honestly is a more talented lyricist, a more talented rapper. Like Meek Mill, going into that, everybody thought Meek Mill was going to win that. Drake surprised everybody and won that. This one just feels like, I don't know if he has it anymore, like on that level. Like, I'm not sure I think he's going to come to a realization that, like, I shouldn't be entering into these beefs. My stamina.
What do you think are the long-term implications on his career? Like, actually,
like, will it affect his next sales?
Are there any?
Will his next album sell worse?
No, I think he'll sell a shit ton probably. Like,
me too.
He'll have a few funny quips about the beef in his rap. This is who he is. He has like a few pretty quippy bars about the beef. Some songs are sick, and they'll sell a shit ton. That's almost guaranteed.
Will anyone look into the pedo claims at all?
Well, I don't know.
Well, is beef, like rap beef, grounds for looking into that type of shit? Getting that warrant or something? Like, what happens? Like, does it just like words in the air?
There's long been known that he has this pattern. It's
grooming, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, problematic behavior. But you've said also grooming. I don't know that it's gonna get like legal repercussions. What I feel may happen is like
he's too big, he's too rich, dude. There's no way.
His commercial opportunities may fade slightly because it is a nasty thing for. Like, if we're listening to Not Like Us in the club all summer, and people are just screaming that line.
A minor!
That one, and also the one.
They're going crazy, dude.
Yeah, that one, and also like the straight up certified lover boy, not certified, pedophile. I think
it's bad, man.
Those are bad words to be associated with you. I could see like commercial opportunities fading. Like, I might just be like projecting or seeing what I'm seeing with like a bias, but I feel like I've seen that commercial that he was in fade away from television since this beef has started.
I mean, commercial implications, also
no more State Farm.
No, implications within just like hip hop culture. Like, something that I didn't talk about is that he got into beef with so other people who have released beefs, have released diss tracks on Drake in this time. A$AP Rocky, The Weeknd. What'd you say, Steve?
Ross.
Yeah, Rick Ross. Metro Boomin put out BBL Drizzy, which is like a sick instrumental beat that's also a banger of the summer, dude.
Crowdsourcing diss songs from all over the world. I've heard like freestyles in every single language you can imagine, dissing Drake essentially.
Damn.
Yeah, so Metro Boomin, who's obviously a huge producer, DJ Mustard produced Not Like Us. He's obviously like a huge hit maker as well. And so there's a lot at stake here, I feel, for Drake in terms of commercial opportunities, but also like a lot of hip hop, of a lot of industry people think you're just kind of a whack guy, and it's out in the open now. Like, well, we all think you're super whack, dude.
Burned a lot of bridges, right? And now,
it's like, you're all whack, dude.
Like, Meet the Grams is produced by Alchemist, which is another legendary producer.
Like, it's crazy.
But yeah, losing the ability to have Future on your songs is a really big deal, since Future has sided with Metro in this beef. that's going to take away opportunities. I think Brian summed it up. It's like industry opportunities. He's going to be boxed into something very narrow with what he can do musically. It's pretty much going to be 40 and what's the other producer that he works with frequently? Boy One, is that? Yeah, something of the. He has two producers he works with frequently.
40.
Yeah, 40. He's gonna have to be like boxed into those two. It's gonna be difficult, but he has such a loyal fan base.
He's a massive star. He's a massive, massive star.
Yeah, I think he was the biggest star. What?
Like too big to fail?
Almost, I think. Unless there's receipts. If there's receipts that he's like, and I don't think they exist, to be honest, of him, hitting up, underage people. I don't.
11-year-old people that he's hiding would also be bad if he's hiding this daughter.
Yeah, if he's hiding his daughter. If there's a receipt that comes out that he's hiding his daughter, that'd be pretty bad.
He could also fuck Kendrick over too with receipts, if we're being real.
Yeah,
the Dave Freeze one seems to be bullshit. Dave Freeze has been like hyping up Kendrick's songs.
Yeah, he's like one of Kendrick's closest, like lifetime closest guys.
People are like, oh, Kendrick's wife Whitney doesn't follow him on Instagram and he doesn't follow her, and then they like looked into it and it was like they never have. That's like Kendrick's artist account and there's no reason for her to follow him and vice versa. But if he can pull receipts on like the domestic abuse claims, that would also be big. Like a lot of this, the Drake fans are hyper focused on discrediting Meet the Grams because they say it's full of lies that Drake supposedly fed Kendrick, which I still am not buying that. But even if they are lies, Drake also has his diss songs are full of lies too until we see receipts. So I don't find that you can discredit anything at this point. And the problem with like lies is there's going to be a certain segment that's never going to see the truth, even if receipts get pulled to prove one or the other are lying or telling the truth. They're just going to go off the song, and just that's kind of how this works.
The essence of the song, yeah.
I think this is the essence of like beef. Honestly, these are claims that it's really hard. Like when it's on wax, you don't.
But Kendrick was able to get it to the point where people are screaming at the club that Drake is a pedophile. So that's losing. You know what I mean? Like that's bad. And and you're like, it seems like you're kind of having trouble fighting back against these completely outlandish claims because it's just so believable that Drake is like this sex pest.
The Heart Part 6.
It's on film. It's on film, basically. It's on camera. It's on camera that he acts like this.
And he's a 17-year-old at the concert.
He's the biggest hip hop. Yeah, he's the biggest hip hop star in the world. Crazier stuff happens. 100%.
There's a long history for someone like me outside of the modern hip hop scene or rap scene of Drake like trying or bringing 18-year-old models or like grooming like actresses or like those type of young type of people. And if it's gone all the way to me, then there must be some seed of truth there, right? He's at least like, there was the one that went around Reddit today is that Millie Bobby Brown talking about her and Drake's relationship. Yeah, like
she was like, you're really young, and they text every day, and they text every day, and it's like,
I miss you, and I can't wait to see you.
And Drake was 32 at the time, or something. It's
how are the boys treating you? That's like pretty whack.
That's pretty weird.
In any situation, like even from a 32-year-old female cousin to a 16-year-old female cousin, that'd be weird. And they're not even related. They're opposite sex, and there's that whole like story behind Drake. Anyways, it was just whack. And then the Heart Part 6 for me was just so weak. Like I was listening to it and like rolling my eyes at how weak some of his statements were, and like the song itself, it seemed like some generic ass beat.
I like the beat. I'll be honest, I did like the beat on the Heart Part 6.
Okay, but maybe not for me. It was just like compared to everything else, like in Meet the Grams or like Not Like Us, it was so much worse in quality, and it seemed like a whimper, ending like a whimper, like you guys said. That was my read on it. Drake at the end just can't do any better, and now he's grasping for straws, and it's rough. But anything else, Brian? Steve, what do you think? How will it end?
It's over for now. I mean, like I said, I think the ball is in Drake's court if he wants.
I have a feeling Kendrick will drop another
there's
one.
There's 18 days in between the last response.
Really,
right?
You don't think so?
I don't see why there would be a reason for him to reply after yesterday. Drake basically said like "Ah, that was good exercise. I'm done now, though." Like, he basically was waving a white flag, and that was not the diss you put out if you're trying to reignite this, because you're so far behind. I mean, people were retweeting that meme of Chris Paul hits a big three to cut the lead to
It's
40.
down by 30.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Like,
love
that
that
was
meme, dude. I
yeah.
love that meme,
That's
dude.
what basically people were equating what he did yesterday to. I listened to Academic Stream for a while yesterday.
Oh man, that's
which
like one of the greatest things of this whole beef.
it's great. I wish he were a little less biased, because I think for him,
No, that's what makes it funny.
but it's annoying
That's,
when he's
that's the
having
whole point.
people on.
You know,
I know DJ Academics.
He's having people on and
huge
like
Drake stan.
just like, yeah, I think it's still close. I don't think it's over, and like everybody's just like laughing in his face.
Yeah, I think that's funny. I think that's kind of the allure, is that like he can't like he's such a stan that he can't
I don't know
admit that.
Character or not. I often wonder, he has to
I
be
think
like,
it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit. A
I
little
think
bit.
he's also, Drake
little-
leaks some info and you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. I think that's probably
Sure.
a like factor in this. But he had a dude named DJ Head on, who is pretty close with Kendrick. Like, he's known Kendrick for a long time. And DJ Head was like basically saying like, that was kind of like a white flag. I know for a fact if Drake lets this lie, like, there won't be anything. There's no reason for Kendrick to reply, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. We've seen beefs end before where the artist who last dropped wasn't the winner. Like, Super Ugly kind of ended Jay and Nas's height of their beef. And I don't know, there's people who say Jay won, but I think like most of the country outside of New York says Nas won based off the strength of the ether. So like, it doesn't always have to be the last person who speaks is the one who wins the beef, Like, I think Kendrick has done enough now where he's so far ahead. Like I said, Drake has to drop something on par with Meet the Grams. I don't know if he's capable of that, but maybe
I don't
something
think that's
on par.
possible.
Yeah, like maybe Push Ups was a cool little club record. Not really my vibe. Wasn't really focused enough. He talked about a lot of other people and barely talked about Kendrick, which we didn't really get into, but that's been a consistent problem
That's
with all of his diss tracks,
Yeah.
except for the Heart Part 6, which he did mainly stick to Kendrick. But he has to drop something even better than Back to Back, where he has the whole club singing something like, is it your world tour? Is it your girls tour? Which was like the big Meek Mill diss that everybody freaked out about. I thought it was a hot track at the time too, but
yeah, for sure.
He has to do something even to a higher level than Back to Back, I'd say, because the A minor line, like, Kendrick already has beat him at the club record. He has to out club record him something.
Great line.
It's gonna be too crazy at the clubs or at the bar or whatever, and they're just playing that, and everybody's gonna be screaming it. That's a crazy. That's a crazy thing to happen in just like the social cultural sphere. That's why I kept on saying, dude, this is a cultural moment. Honestly,
it is a cultural moment. It was very.
It is.
All right, Brian. Did we do it justice? Is there anything else you want to talk about? Like, actually, one question to you. You mentioned you mentioned the Jay Nas beef. Like, is in the history of rap beefs, how does it normally go? Like they have this beef, they make some songs. Are they chill later on, or were Nas and Jay ever chill later on? Not really.
They're chill. Nas and Jay are chill now.
Now they are now, but like right after.
No, like, I mean, in 5 years, will they even will they laugh at it together, or like what?
I don't know if they'll laugh about this.
I don't know if you could tell somebody to die twice, dude.
This has gone too far. It's gone too far.
I think so.
Okay.
All right. What I'd say is this is a little different because it's unprecedented that in a rap beef stuff drops this fast. Nas and Jay was
that's another thing
drawn out a lot more period of time. I think that's made this a little more dramatic. And like, before we sign off, I just wanted to say, like, I do give Drake a lot of credit for constantly engaging in these beefs. I think like a lot of artists are kind of too. I don't want. They have if an artist has as much to lose as Drake, they usually don't get into these sort of beefs. Jay-Z after Nas didn't really like to engage in beefs to this degree because he had a lot to lose. And I do think like you have to respect Drake constantly doing this and trying to advance the rap game, even if he's getting his ass kicked in 2 consecutive beefs. Like it's a commendable thing that while we all want to clown him, we should respect him for like engaging.
He's a 38-year-old UFC fighter who just keeps getting in the ring. Is that's going on here?
Gatekeeper.
And he's getting yeah, what? Yeah, okay, there
He's
you go.
Rafael dos Anjos.
There you go. Yeah. Brian, any last word?
No, that's all.
All right. No. Well, thank you for this education, and I wouldn't have known about it unless you guys brought it up in group chat and stuff. And so it was a well
cultural moment.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on the train for once and not late. So there you go. All right. Thanks, Brian. Steves.
Peace.
Next segment, NBA playoffs. But first, I apologize for the soup in segment 1. Like I mentioned, this is our second week on YouTube, and I didn't realize we have to be also on the video. So I'm sorry, my bad. Hand up on that one. But NBA playoffs round 2 now. All matchups are set up. We got one game out of the Minnesota-Denver series, which was a banger. But just really wanted to like wrap a bow on round 1 and then kind of preview round 2. Thoughts, Sebastian, first for you?
A lot of ugly basketball. Like I'd say, we had 2 series. I thought Clippers Mavs was a very disappointing series. It seemed like it was going to be a lot more fun. The Mavs shot pretty poorly, and it made it kind of a clunker of a series to watch. You know, we had our 1-7 game series, which was supposed to be like the hipster fun basketball series, was not very fun at all. We had like 2 fun games in that. You know, it was fun, like Nuggets Lakers, dramatic, probably frustrating for us.
Not for me. I was proud of us. We could have won 2 games in that series, which is perfectly fine for me. You know, like 2 Jamal Murray shots, he makes 1, he misses 1. I don't know.
It was the same as last year. It was close. It was pretty close in a lot of games. I mean, we were up by 20 in one, for God's sake.
We did better than the Suns. We like the Heat. You know, like
that's the series that was the most fun. Suns Wolves, which I think I kind of touched on last week.
You did. Yeah. But I thought none of us had sweep.
Nope. I had it in 7,
no
actually.
Sweep. No sweep.
Pelicans too. None of us had sweep for Pelicans. They just kind of.
We didn't know Zion was going to go down. Like
we did. We had game 1. We had game 1 in books. We knew Zion.
He came out in our game. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so like that, those were too surprising. My thing, Steve's gave his thing for round 1. My thing is the injuries. It was not fun to see. Not Kawhi play. Zion not play. Dame and Giannis hobbled. Randall out. Embiid hobbled. Jamal is coming back from an injury. So just like wasn't that Kawhi? Of course, like a lot of key matchups were thrown off. Maybe not the result, but the quality of the matchup was thrown off by injuries, which is sad to say. And I don't know if it has anything to do with all this pressure to play 65 games now, because a lot of your salary compensation is tied up in being able to play 65 games. I don't know if that's a good look and if it's going to take away from the playoff product, but was really upset with the injuries, but not upset with the results, just the injuries. Brian, anything?
Yeah, I mean, another takeaway for me, plus one of both you guys, is also just the young teams are better than I thought they were.
Yeah.
Wolves for sure, obviously. Meteoric rise of Ant, pretty crazy. Seeing him honestly grow in real time. Honestly, he's like a rapidly learning. Like
Rottweiler.
Yeah. I don't know. He's a
German
dog,
Shepherd.
man. He's crazy, man. And I mean, OKC, they made pretty quick work, like you guys said. I thought, maybe they'd lose the game, but a couple games were close, but for the most part, were demolishing them pretty hard. Like I mentioned, I think feels like a passing of the torch playoff, definitely this time, because Curry out, LeBron out in the first round, KD swept, Kawhi, PG, Russ, and Harden taken out by
good point.
The Mavericks. And so I thought the first round was going to be a little bit more entertaining, like you guys said, because of what seemed like amazing matchups. But it does look like kind of like the young guard is just really coming in strong and saying, it's our time now. And we're the better teams, and you guys need to rapidly change, become younger. I don't know, blow it up, essentially, but to compete with us. So
it was a good point, Brian. I read some stat that like all of the 8 teams remaining in the playoffs, all of them are led by an under 30 superstar, which is like definitely like a passing of the torch moment for sure.
That is true.
I just wanted to say, like, we all had our wrong predictions. Which one can we say we were the most wrong? I was wrong in particular about the Bucks. I'll say that's probably my worst one I picked.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I took that.
You got that one right, Seems. Yeah, you got that one right. But you didn't get right.
Cavs and Magic is the only one I got wrong from what I recall.
76ers Knicks. Didn't you take 76ers?
Right. That one hurt. That's one of the all-time series to me. I at least all-time first-round series. I fucking loved every single game of that series.
Yeah.
The Sixers, that really came down to, like, it's cliche, but like a few lucky bounces, honestly. Like, there's the game with the DiVincenzo 3. Brunson hits a corner 3 right before that bounces around the rim. Very like Kawhi in 2019-esque. That to me, that series was worth like the entire first round. It was definitely like the marquee matchup. And, there's 2 of the bigger markets and they're both East Coast. So we're going to get like a disproportionate amount of media coverage of it. But I felt like it was the first time it was like kind of really warranted that the Knicks were leading the media story every single week or every single day, basically.
Yeah. I mean, learning that Brunson just is that guy, dude. He's pretty so sick.
He's so sick.
I love that guy.
You
had him in fantasy. You should know.
I had him in fantasy. I loved him, dude. Are you kidding me? He was out of the 3-guard lineup. Out of the 3-guard lineup of Donovan Mitchell, Mr. Unreliable, Tyrese Halliburton, who played amazingly, but then got injured and was pretty not great for the rest of the year. For good 20 games, was not that good. But Jalen Brunson, he actually got better as the season got on. He was around the early mid-season. He was only at like 24 points a game, and he ended the season at like 27, 28 points a game. So he was going crazy near the end of the season.
I think we have to stop and give Brian flowers for 2 things. One is that his 3-guard lineup is now 3 of the starting guards in the Eastern Conference.
That's true. The lead players actually.
Lead players in 3 or 4 teams. And also, I think that Brian got every single matchup right. Did you miss a matchup, Brian? I think you got every single one.
No, I think I got Bucks wrong. I think I got Bucks wrong.
You had Bucks? Okay, then we were okay. Then.
I had Bucks. Bucks.
I think you did the best out of all of us. I think me and Steve's got 2 wrong and you got 1 wrong. So good job, Brian.
There you go, man.
I will say you want to give Brian credit, but his team was like close to last place, which maybe you may want to give him
check. A reality check.
I'll hold that L, but it was because Mr. Unreliable, Donovan Mitchell, he gets injured one game.
He does
every game. He's day to day, and he's day to day for like 7 games. And it's like, dude,
that's rough.
You're holding me hostage. Like, you're a really good player. Like, I need you to play. And you're saying it's mysterious about whether you're not coming back, and you just don't come back. Mr. Unreliable. He's a good player. He is a good player. He carried the Cavs to the win yesterday.
He's a good second-round player, man, for sure.
Very, very good.
He dominates those early playoff rounds for sure.
Yeah.
So let's just move to the next round. We got 1 game of Wolves Nuggets. We talked about it a little bit, but what do you see for the rest of the series? Do we still I think all of us had Nuggets in 6? Is that so? Nuggets have to win 4 out of the next
5 for that to come true.
Yeah,
4 of the next 6.
So it's going to be a 7-gamer now. That's what Andrew was saying. Like, basically, the team who wins, see if you steal home court, it's like a 50.
I'm actually excited to see tonight because I need to see what the balance of power is. Like, do the Nuggets just come back and dominate and shut down Edwards, or has Edwards ascended and he's really good and he's going to come out and drop another even 30 ball? If he drops an efficient 30 ball today, I'd be pretty impressed. And I'm already pretty.
Yeah, I think he will.
I'm already pretty bought in that he's the next big star. But if he does drop 30, it's coming. It's just coming so much faster than I expected.
Rudy is probably not playing tonight, is what I'm seeing right now. He's not going to be there.
He's having a kid, right?
He had it, and he was trying to fly in, but there's high winds. So
act of God.
Yeah, that's so consequential. I mean, I'm not your child. It's your first kid being born.
Yeah.
Like you should be there.
Yeah.
There's gonna be
100%.
assholes online making fun of him, but
1,000%.
fuck them.
Oh, really? That's a shame.
Yeah. That's crazy because I actually felt like the Wolves really did have a chance to kind of step on the Nuggets' throats tonight. I would have predicted the Nuggets win, but I don't think this is like a typical happy to take one game on the road and just settle team. I think Ant's mentality is very, very, very aggressive. And like I actually thought tonight was probably going to be pretty dicey for Denver because I think they're going to be pretty tight. Like they have to come out and play with more urgency from the get-go than they have throughout this entire playoffs. So the Rudy absence changes my thinking a little bit, though. I could see the Nuggets kind of maybe winning by 10 to 15 now.
2 questions for you guys. One, if Nuggets win by 2 points on like a game winner, or like they don't win that convincingly, does it still change your outlook for the rest of the series? Will you then maybe swing over to Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think so.
So the only short of a
thinking,
domination today without Rudy Gobert, would you have Nuggets more confidently?
My thing, I need to see how Jamal looks tonight because I haven't really liked how he's looked. I kind of felt like the Wolves. I was starting to lean Wolves before the series, but I'll stick with what I said at the beginning of the playoffs. But if Jamal looks like he's 75% to me. 77% there. I'll go Simmonsy for that. But yeah, he doesn't look great to me. They're picking on him a lot in pick and roll. I want to say the Wolves averaged over 2 points in game 1 when Jamal was put into the pick and roll, which is like astronomical. So that's a problem. If Jamal can't move like he normally does and he's getting picked on, they're kind of in a very deep shit. Denver, that is, yeah.
His next question was, is Ant Edwards already better than Tatum? Is he the best American player out there right now?
If he continues to play like this and win, yes.
But undoes Tatum going to the conference final twice over basically the same age, 21 and like 23, right?
There was a point made that I heard that I agree with, is that like Tatum is a very
22 or something. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Tatum is a very great player on the best team in the league, but he is not in the conversation for like the top guy in like the best player in the league. And I agree with that point, and that Ant has the potential to be the best player in the league, and I don't necessarily see that in Tatum.
I think
he's a great player, like top 5 to 7 player in the league every year. But I don't think he is really truly in the contention of being the best player in the league. Whereas Ant, from what he's showing, it looks like he can be the best player in the league.
That's fair. Corny, but I just think like we thought that Tatum could get there actually when he was probably around the same age, from what I recall. Maybe he was a little older, but I just think Ant seems to have a much more cutthroat personality.
Yeah.
And, which is what people like.
No, like he's a dog, and that's my next follow-up question: is what separates them? Is it just mentality? Because Ant is the most athletic player in the league. Jason Tatum is not the devoid of like athletic gifts. He's like a 6'10" body. He's an athletic specimen himself. So it's not like it's that big of a difference there.
I mean, Ant's more explosive. He's more hype. Like feels more dominant.
Hype is intangible, Brian.
No, he feels more dominant physically. Like he gets past people easier. It just seems like people bounce off him, and he's just like, "Get the fuck off me!"
Do you think he's stronger?
100%, 1,000%.
I also think he's a little. I don't want to say tougher. Ant is probably the toughest player in the league. Like he's been, he just is constantly on injury reports, and I really can't remember him missing that many games when he was on an injury report. It always seems like he tries to play through it. It's just kind of a mentality thing. I don't know if it's because he was a dual sport football, basketball athlete. And I think one thing about Ant is he's kind of just like a sicko. Like you can tell he works in the gym ridiculous amounts. He became like pretty good at just like randomly banking in threes, which is kind of like a hilarious thing to just start doing. Like he doesn't do it in the playoffs, but during the regular season, if they were up a lot, he would just like shoot and make bank threes like intentionally. And it's just like, you're not really like practicing that unless you're in the gym a fuckload with time to kill because you're just in the gym excessively, you know? It's a stupid thing to focus on. It just shows like he's in the gym.
I mean, some of the moves he was even pulling in last game. It's like, oh my gosh, he's elevated. Dude, the fadeaway to ice the game.
That was beautiful.
I was like, oh my god,
he was in that
amazing.
Zone. Yeah,
huh?
He was in that zone where I didn't.
It was so clean. It was so clean. No hesitation in the move at all, and just little bump and then a turn fade swish, and it's like, oh man, that was sweet.
So I'm really looking forward to this game coming up soon. So we'll probably preview it coming up next week. So really quickly for the other 3 series, I'm just gonna ask you your pick again, reaffirm your pick, and give me the one key to the series. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have in front of you what our picks were?
Oh, I mean, I know you had Thunder Mavericks, and we both had Mavericks, Brian. I think Steve said Mavericks as well, right?
Yeah, I had Mavericks, yeah.
So what do the Mavericks need to do to win? They no longer have Kleba, who's out with an AC joint tear, I think, which we laugh, but it actually is kind of big for them because they could use spacing.
It's not a small deal.
Yeah, so what's the key for them to beat the Thunder?
I think it's just veteran presence. Honestly, Luka and Kyrie as leaders have much more playoff experience than the whole Thunder combined. Obviously, Kyrie's a champion. Luka, even though people can criticize him for not getting deeper into playoffs as we would have liked within his career, he's gotten to the Western Conference Finals. He's put away, the Suns in nasty fashion. Just put away the Clippers in nasty fashion early in his career. He was hitting buzzer beaters against a pretty tough Clippers team. I think that playoff experience in conjunction with obviously Kyrie, who was on the championship teams with LeBron, I think when the game starts to get very grindy, as the playoffs have been, a lot of the scores have been averaging in the hundreds, which is not normal compared to the regular season. I believe in the season it was in like 112 or something like that for average game. When it gets to those that type of pace of game, I think Luka and Kyrie are going to take over essentially. And Shea is amazing. I think it'll be Mavericks in, I think it's honestly 7 games now. I think I said 6 before.
Yeah. But enough experience from Luka and Kyrie to compensate for what I believe to be the discrepancy in coaching.
I do.
My big thing is Luka wasn't great in the first round. He picked it up towards the end. I'm curious because the Thunder have tremendous wing depth and a lot of players they can throw at him. Lou Dort might be a little too short, but he's physical enough to mess with Luka. Jalen Williams is going to be thrown on one of Luka or Kyrie, I would assume. And that's a pretty interesting matchup. Case and Wallace. There's a lot of players that the Thunder can throw at Luka and Kyrie to kind of disrupt them, so I'm curious about that. And I'm also curious about Gafford and Lively with Chet. Like, I want to see that matchup as well.
So for me, like you said, Sebastian, it's a lot about they have all these wing guards who can blitz and won't get tired. They have like guarding Luka full court and making his life difficult. How does Jason Kidd make it easy for Luka? Because in general, he doesn't. And Luka has to do a lot. He's doing a lot of pick and rolls back and forth, and it's also isocentric. So I'm curious how they try to make it easy for Luka. That to me is for the key of the series, and it honestly made me the more and more I think about it, it makes me think that it could be an OKC in 7 type situation. And then even though I picked Dallas in 7, I believe, I feel like it could go either way. This is a 50-50 coin toss for me. Celtics, Cavaliers. Learn a lot from Cavaliers in the first round, but they did pull it out. Celtics, I mean, they pounded the Heat. If they was not a Heat seer, no Jimmy. Didn't really show a lot of fight. So what do you guys see to the key? We all had Celtics, and I think 5 is what we had. You had 6, Eves, right? You said
I had the Magic, I think, winning that series. So I think I had Celtics in 6 because I've always thought the Celtics play with their food. We saw it a little bit in the first round.
That's true, yes.
Yeah.
So you think 6 against the Cavs?
No, he said 6 against the Magic. But what about the Cavs now?
The Cavs played them pretty tough during the season. I don't know what the Jarrett Allen status is. I'll go Celtics in 5 right now, but
Jared Allen's a good player who I also had in fantasy.
not a huge fan, mainly because I'm a Mobley person, and I feel like they both inhibit one another, and I like Mobley more. So
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'll go with Celtics in 5, but I wouldn't shock me if this goes 6.
Same.
Yeah.
I think I was at 5. I'm going to 6 now, just because Cavs actually impressed me. I didn't think they had that extra fight in them, and I think that, like Steve said, Celtics are prone to fuck ups and mental breakdowns breakdowns in the play, and I think that they can pull 2 games away from this, and the Heat weren't really any threat to them, and this is the first team they'll actually play that would feel like a playoff matchup to them. So 6. Brian?
I'd say 5. I think it's going to be pretty definitive. I think the Cavs are a good enough team to take 1, but a
Donovan Mitchell game, basically.
Basically, and I personally think that while I'm not so sure that they'll win the championship, I think that Boston will have a pretty strong run to the finals.
That's fair.
Is my opinion. So I think they'll gloss over them very easily.
In the final matchup, Pacers-Knicks, I had Bucks-Knicks here, so I'll go with my pick. I got Knicks in 5.
Yeah,
I just think there's too much grit and too much know-how there. What do you say, Steves?
Pacers-Knicks?
Lose game 1. The Knicks are about to lose game 1. Yeah, they're down 9 in the 4th.
All right, I should have waited. Go ahead.
I actually, no, I don't mean to cut you off. Finish what you were gonna say.
I just like
too much grit.
I like the way the Knicks. I really like the way the Knicks played versus 76ers. I think they kind of got tuned up by playing against a strong team.
They're a tough team, man.
Yeah, 2 really good players and a good coach. Pacers on the opposite hand played a depleted Bucks team, an injured Dame, and a bad playoff coach. And so it's going to be a level up. And I don't see, like, if Knicks are able to slow the game down and actually play defense and stop the shooters, it'll be tough for the Pacers. They have enough offense to get by, and they just need to play good defense, not even great defense, to beat the Pacers, in my opinion. 5 or 6 games max.
I don't love the matchup for the Knicks, if I'm being honest. I still would have.
Tell us why.
I think that the Knicks like to play pretty slow. I think the Pacers have the tools to speed them up. I don't think it's a situation like with Philadelphia where they have to feed Embiid. I still would probably go Knicks in 6 or 7, but I really wouldn't be shocked if it's the Pacers somehow pulling it out, just because I think that the Knicks offensively kind of can be pretty inefficient, and the Pacers are built on like the strength of being an efficient offensive machine. And I think this is the series where you kind of do feel the lack of Randall, just because you need scoring to keep up with the Pacers. And like, I just think I have thought that I think the Pacers did pretty well against the Knicks in the regular season. So I just think there's something about the matchup that kind of fucks with the Tibbs system.
Oh, I didn't know it was. I thought it was like maybe like end of the 4th quarter, but their start of the 4th quarter, they're down by 9 right now, and what I see is that all of their starters are playing really well, and they're still down by 9.
Toppin is having a pretty big game from what I've seen when I look up.
Yeah,
TJ McConnell. It's a TJ McConnell game. 9 for 15. Actually, he's got 18 points, dude.
I had the opposite. Even before, I think we're coming to the same conclusion, but even before I knew that they're about to lose, I was going to say Knicks in 6. I do opposite to you, Sebastian. I think that the Knicks have the tools to muck it up and slow the Pacers down, and the Pacers don't have much of a plan B, and that they'll be able to slow it down over the long term of the series. I mean, I think we're both agreeing that the Pacers will still be able, just through firepower alone, take a game or 2. So I'm saying Knicks in 6. So I think we're coming to the same conclusion.
Yeah, basically.
Just like different thoughts of how we get there.
All of us think that pace will be important. The team that is able to dictate pace and will be able to have success in this series. And Seeps thinks it would be Indiana, and me and you think it will be Knicks, and we'll like wait and see. Not looking great in game 1, that's for sure.
Offense beats defense is like what people so often say nowadays.
At least in this
modern
era.
NBA era.
Bill Walton says it, and Bill Walton is an old
There's
school
still
guy.
plenty of time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm optimistic. Yeah, we'll see. But I think that's it for round 2, right? I think we covered all the teams. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Top 5 Bool or Bust Song of the Week time. Top 5s was Brian's. Song of the Week is me.
No, Sebastian. No, Sebastian.
Sebastian's? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Sebastian's. Anyone want to go first for Bool or Bust, though? Anything particularly irksome?
I have Bulls, but my bust is pretty...
Okay, go ahead, Steve. You can start us off.
So, this is like my favorite part of the football, the soccer calendar.
Mm-hmm.
We get into promotion, relegation, playoffs, just promotion and relegation in general. And I just want to shout out a few teams. I mentioned before Bob Voulgaris' Castellón was on the verge of being promoted to La Liga 2, and they got the job done with 3 matches to spare. So shout out Castellón. Pretty exciting, and good for Bob Voulgaris. Then Bromley won their National League playoff match yesterday, and they got promoted to the English Football League for the first time in their 132-year history, which is pretty incredible. So good for them. And last but not least, I wanted to save them for last. Ipswich Town. We were back in the Premier League for the first time in 22 years. Actually, never thought I would see this. They actually went back down to League One the year before and have achieved a double promotion in back-to-back years. It's just really an incredible accomplishment. When I bought my first FIFA for PS4, I picked a team.
That's where I remember them from. I was like, I've heard Ipswich Town before. I think Steve's... Okay, yeah.
I do a lot of research before I pick the team that I'm going to do manager mode with, just because I'm kind of, I don't know, a nerd, I guess. But I'd seen that Ipswich Town had never been hadn't been promoted. They had been in the championship for the longest time of all the teams there, and I was like, I'm going to pick them and take them back to the Premier League. And they actually haven't been back since, and it's been 22 years since they've been in the Premier League. And they were just an incredibly impressive side. I enjoyed watching them a lot. I think Kieran McKenna is a really incredible manager. They had a lot of very late winners, and the championship is probably the hardest division in English football, I'd say, because the teams are so close, and there's only 2 automatic promotion spots, and the playoff is just such a dice roll every year. So for them to pull through, I was really, really happy for them. Portman Road is going to be fun to see in the Premier League next year. And I just want to shout out a few players. Omari Hutchinson was big for them on loan from Chelsea, which, he'll be there next year and it won't be great because he's pretty good. Kiefer Moore, Nathan Broadhead, and their captain, Sam Morsey. Just a very fun side to watch, and I'm very happy for everyone in Ipswich that they get to call themselves a Premier League side again. I hope they stay up next year, and I hope they party all summer. They seem to be having a great time in Ipswich right now, from what I've seen.
Any others?
My bust is just... There's a lot of roads being worked on right now simultaneously in Orange County, and everything's just a fucking mess when you're driving around, and it's very unpleasant. They could have had better coordination.
Did you experience the Culver construction like last month or 2 months ago, where they cut down Culver to the 5 for one lane?
Yes.
It took me like 25 minutes to get to the 5 from my house.
Jamboree right now is my big beef.
Oh no, okay. Where? Oh yeah. I on the after you go on the down the ramp and stuff towards District. Yeah, it's
clusterfuck.
It's
and Tribuco, they closed like one of the lanes the other day. Just a big clusterfuck. They needed to coordinate better. Driving around is even worse than it normally is.
No, very solid Bool or Bust this week. I can go next, Brian. Unless you had one more, Seeps.
No, that's it.
Okay. For me, I'll start positive, I suppose. The Bool is actually Live Golf. I think they had a tournament in Singapore the other day, and it was just like they do a lot of things right, and just because of like who they are and the backlash that douchebag Jay Monahan like started with not like and the way he treated them to begin with, and then ultimately like merging with them later on, which was so hypocritical. And still people haven't forgiven them for like giving all the players the money and stuff or poaching money, but they do a lot of things right. They do 3 rounds. They're like they stream it on YouTube for free. You can watch entire rounds. You can go back and watch the VODs. Like they make it more fun for people as a spectator sport. They do teams. They try to do new things, and I think there's just like this haughtiness and arrogance from PGA stands who don't want to give it a shot. And I actually enjoyed watching some of the Live Singapore, like really cool courses. They go all around the world. It's not all about American courses. And I think that if they weren't from where they were, Saudi Arabia, people would be a lot more positive about them. And like I said before, I did my rant on Saudi Arabian money. It's everywhere anyways. So you just kind of have to get over it, in my opinion. But my second, I guess, a Bool or bust is that I don't know why, but I've been getting a lot of like celebrity plastic surgery things on Reddit, and then I recently saw
targeted ads, Ashwin.
Yeah, maybe. The one was like, look at this guy, and it was Tom Brady, and it was a picture of him before when he got into the league, and now he looks completely different, dude.
Yes,
he looks 100%. If anyone said he's not done like cosmetic surgery or gotten like I don't know whatever they call it,
I actually don't know what he looked like before.
You should look, dude.
He looked very average,
and now what he looks like, it's like
that
shocking.
A big
point. Send me the picture.
That was a big thing that they were joking about frequently at the roast last night.
Exactly. Yeah.
For sure.
But that, and then like there was one, because I looked at that next time I went to Reddit, I saw one on Emma Stone. It said, look at her before and after. Look at Rebecca Ferguson before and after. And I'm like, if it's so prevalent all throughout Hollywood, it just kind of makes me wonder, like, oh, another reason, 3 body problem. Isla Gonzalez before and after. Like, it's crazy. Like, and the way people go to, like, I'm perfectly okay if you want to do it. It's an option. It's a medical procedure. You can do it, but don't lie about it. And all of them lie about it. Just like be honest that what you have is not like natural, and no one will care. But just,
I think that's just Hollywood, bro.
Is it?
I think so. LA Hollywood culture. I think so.
Maybe
it's whack. It's definitely whack, but it's just the way the way it is.
You would think
that's
that
just
there's enough people.
It is.
Yeah. There's millions and billions of people out there. You could pick someone who's like naturally, I guess it doesn't matter to them, right? But like at some point doesn't it affect your ability to act if you're filled with Botox? You can't move your face, like fillers and stuff. Like I don't know.
Hey, we got pretty good VFX these days. Actually,
there you go.
Yeah. You gotta take a look at some of the VFX. We got some pretty good VFX these days.
And of course, like paralysis is pretty short. It's not really gonna affect your ability to move your face.
Dude. And these people have the
it's
top,
the fillers.
top.
You're right. It's fillers.
Some of these people have like the top cosmetic resources. Not even just medically, but the best products to use and the best stylists and the best access to clothes, and it's almost to be expected.
Another one was Kate Beckinsale.
Out pretty well too.
Kate Beckinsale was like, you took a picture before, and she said that she made a big post, like long post saying, I keep getting saying it. It's like so obvious she does, but she's making a big deal about it.
I mean, there's also the situation that probably some people have cosmetic surgery that's so good that you can't tell, but it makes them subtly look a lot better or something like that.
Yeah.
That's probably also very rampant in LA, Hollywood. I'm sure it is. I'm not even saying it must be. It definitely is.
Of course it is. But it was shocking. Like, I never thought Brady would be a person to do that. And then when I actually saw the pictures, like, all right,
send the picture out. I want to see
there's something to be done here. Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty easy to find. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess this is kind of a lighthearted one, but the last Boston game, this is kind of a bust too. I was just looking at the crowd, and I kind of made a little game with myself that I would count the minutes until I was able to see a minority in the crowd. And it took me 7.5 minutes to find a non-white person in the crowd of Boston. And I know like Indiana is bad and like Indiana was like, a lot of people were saying Indiana is like even worse and stuff. But for me, if I was a player and that it was a historically racist, if I was an African American player and it was a historically racist place, and you're playing for all like people who were historically racist towards you, it's not that appealing to me. But I don't know, maybe is that why they don't get that many free agents? I don't know why. Like it was eye opening when you look at our nice diversity in LA and Orange County, and it's a little color of the rainbow for everybody. You know, not just one color of the rainbow, but all right, so be it.
The challenges of geographic. That's just how Boston is, I feel like. Did you say Boston?
I said Boston.
Yeah, you said Boston.
For sure. I think it is the way it is. Is it my turn?
Yeah, it is your turn.
Oh, mine are pretty simple and straightforward. Honestly, if I hadn't already said it, NBA 40 Days and 40 Nights playoffs is super great. It's just really fun and easy to watch. My bust is the Boba Shop Omomo, dude. I don't.
Why?
Every time, is it Omomo or there's one right next to Trader Joe's?
There's
one right next to Trader Joe's. Omomo.
Oh yeah. Andrew took me to one similar to that, and it was like an hour wait for boba.
Yeah, just an hour. It's just so crowded, and sometimes I just like to get the Mediterranean place there. It's just a quick and easy spot, and I have to be like spinning around and doing juke moves to get through this crowd just to get to like the kebab shop restaurant. You know what I mean? Like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
They have good Mediterranean bowls. You know what I mean? I have to do like a whole song and dance of doing a backflip to walk around this crowd, but I don't know. This is just another notch in the anti boba crusade I'm on.
Very biased.
Huh?
It should never take you an hour to get that. That's ridiculous. Like, it wasn't even that good when you waited for an hour. Like,
I'm sure it's great, but how much of it? It's not that good. We got to wake up here. It's great. It is good. It's not worth waiting an hour, and that's my bust.
Solid. Any Bools?
40 Days, 40 Nights.
Okay.
I'm even keel ash.
Yeah, keep it. Yeah,
keeping it. Gotta be 50-50, dude. Gotta keep keeping it 50-50.
Keep the chi in balance. Very good, Ryan. Very good. Okay, yeah, let's move to top 5 then. See if you want to explain it.
Yeah, we're in the midst of an all-time rap beef, so I decided we should do top 5 beefs. They can be pretty much in any aspect, though, because I know, like, for Ashwin, beefs in rap may be difficult for him to pull.
Yeah, modern.
I did a huge mix. Yeah. I did a huge mix.
Mine is pretty much like all rap, but
okay. I just did a mix of like dankest beefs and everything.
Yeah, there's
all time.
like really dank sports beefs too, and that's why I thought it was pretty a fun topic to choose.
I did my favorite, so
yeah.
All right, who's first? Seeps.
I can go.
Or do you want to go, Brian? No, you go first. Yeah.
Okay, so my first one is maybe a little unexpected. I wouldn't say it would. Maybe it is. Who knows? But my number 5 is Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran.
Oh, that's
beef. Just like obviously it happened when I was not even really born. But in terms of just being a boxing fan, and I've liked watching documentaries and stuff on boxing, and this one for me for some reason just stick out the most. It's like the brute, the cold-hearted brute against swaggy Sugar Ray Leonard, and just like their total dichotomy of personalities and how the fights have panned out. So I have that at number 5. At number 4, I just have Nas and Jay-Z for the whole Ether era. Obviously, the most iconic, maybe up until now, of all beefs, So, that goes right into my next one. I think that Kendrick and Drake has quickly become just like a top 5 favorite beef for me. Especially, it really does indicate. It does indicate kind of like that our generation's beef, because it's songs that are being responded to several times in the same day. Drake tapping into the memes, all that kind of stuff. It's like it feels like this generation's big beef, and so it's already really high up there for me. At number 2, or is it number 2? Yes, number 2, I have Goku versus Vegeta.
That's a pretty good one.
It's a good one. Yeah.
That's
I did not think of cartoons.
obviously long-standing Kakarot versus the Prince of Saiyans, dude. Obviously, a big part of many story beats is Vegeta's undying desire to be better than Goku, but ultimately cannot. But leading into many, many interesting stories. So I had Goku and Vegeta at number 2. And then number 1, I just had Shaq and Kobe. I think as a Laker fan, that's the nearest and dearest to my heart. Obviously, I leaned more towards the Kobe side as a Kobe fan, but Shaq is an all-time Laker, still an awesome person on TV. So I picked that as my number 1. I had a special mention for like MJ and Isaiah just for the same reasons of like, I myself probably wasn't watching too much of it, but as a historian of the game, as LeBron would say, I'd say it's one of my favorite ones as well. But I actually, just for ones that I personally connected with, probably that one not as much, but I do find that to be one of the more interesting ones. So it's on my honorable mentions.
That shit made me too sad.
What?
Shaq and Kobe.
It for sure.
Devastating moment in my life.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I feel like I started first being conscious, like as a young child, or when the Shaq and Kobe split. Like, damn, this is like not everything's all flowers, man.
Pretty much, that is pretty accurate. I feel like I didn't like either of them very much after it.
Yeah, I mean they were both huge douchebags like during the whole era.
You never think that like your team and would ever like be mean to each other when you're young. Like, it's like when you find your parents arguing for the first time or something. Like, like it's kind of like eye-opening. Yeah, it's eye-opening. Good honorable mentions. Any more, bro?
No, that's all.
All right. Do you want to go next, Ashwin?
I can go next. So I'm going to pull from Brian right now because I didn't think about this, but I think a good one for anime cartoon beefs would start off with Zoro and Sanji at 5. Nice. It's an all-time beef. Number 4, I would have, I guess, Tay Swift and Kanye. That was an interesting beef out of nowhere. I'm a letter. It was really just crazy at it. It was one of the most memorable ones for me for sure because I heard about it.
Isn't it like a one-sided beef?
I mean, does Taylor Swift get into beefs?
That's what I'm trying to say.
She's too holy.
Kanye just popping off.
Yeah. Fine. All right.
Taylor actually tried to deflect the gaze.
When you bring up a good point, though.
It was a beef.
It was a beef between fans. It was definitely a beef. Like the fans of each group
I think that definitely
got at each other.
That definitely counts.
I was hesitant, but I guess another option would be the Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde beef that happened like last year.
They're both pretty good.
They're both like for Hollywood ones. Those would be my things.
Yeah.
My two. Then I have a couple of soccer ones. Actually,
were they beefing? I just thought they got divorced. They had beef too.
She wouldn't accept the papers, right? And so she had to like go to the Emmys or something, like Grammys or something. I don't know.
Man, Jason Sudeikis is such a nice guy, dude.
But she's not apparently, right? That's I guess that's why Florence Pugh hates her as well. But Steves will appreciate this one because I watched a lot of it at his house. Dilshad Garbrandt. That was a good beef.
Oh, that was great. That is a really good beef.
Yeah, it seemed true and like really venomous.
They fucking hated each other.
Yeah. And then I will put even though this one was short-lived. Okay, I'll do Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, the protege and the mentor split up. They go to Real Madrid, they go to Barcelona, and they end up playing each other for like 4 years. It was super, super competitive and very, very, again, what's the word I'm looking for? Bitey, cantankerous, venomous again. And then for number 1, I have Vieira Kane, which is just an era of like a different soccer where these two DM talismans were just like the two big guys on the team, the two big bros, the two captains. They highlighted 7 years of competitions versus each other. and they hated each other. They protected their team, and it was just so like angry. And then my honorable mention would be Arsene Wenger and Jose, a specialist in failure. Tiger was in Sergio Garcia. Apparently, everyone hates Sergio Garcia.
Yes,
he's kind of an ass. And then I wanted to bring up Ron Artest and the city of Detroit, but I don't know if that really worked. But
I think that counts.
it counts, right?
Sort of. Yeah, it sort of.
That
counts.
Definitely counts.
Okay,
so
that's definitely beef.
It didn't last long. I feel like is the one thing.
I think that one guy probably still harbors a little bit of resentment.
No, Ron. I think which one?
The guy he punched, right?
I think Ron like befriended that guy. Actually,
that does sound like
Ron thing.
Artest, right? Is that his name now?
Meta World Peace.
Not Meta World Peace anymore. Meta Sadif.
Yeah,
Meta Sandiford Artest.
Sandiford, yeah, that's the one. Sandiford Artest. There you go. Yeah.
Sandiford.
His wife's last name, I believe.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So that's my list. Seems all you.
All right. So we'll start with. I'll start with the honorable mentions. I have Gucci Mane versus Jeezy. Pretty vicious beef. Maybe a little. Shit got a little too serious, honestly. I mean, Gucci getting out of bed and killing the person Jeezy sent to shoot him. Pretty big, pretty nasty situation in the beef. The Locks versus State Property. A lot of really talented MCs going at one another. And Rick Ross versus 50 Cent, which Officer Ricky is like an all-time very funny saga.
Yes.
Then 5, I have Tupac versus Biggie. It's like the OG mainstream rap beef, and probably the saddest one. Biggie died as a result of it, and it never really needed to become a beef. Kind of feels like Tupac didn't need to instigate it. There's just lots of complicated feelings about it, but I think it has to be on the list just from a historical standpoint. 4, 50 Cent versus The Game. It's like the first time 50 was really challenged in a beef. And I'd say it was like the first one where I was like fully aware of what was happening in a beef and why. Because it was like at our early teens, so I could like understand what was happening.
Damn.
And I think games like You Know What It Is Volume 2 mixtape, where it's entirely dedicated to dissing 50 and G Unit, was really unique at the time. 300 Bars and Running was really unique, 15-minute diss song, just going at the whole of G Unit. And I think it should be mentioned as one of the best beefs of all time. It was really exciting at the time. Then I have another 50 Cent involved beef, actually. Shady Aftermath versus Murder Inc., which in retrospect I feel really bad about because I was like a dumb, impressionable teen, so I let 50's campaign of slandering Ja Rule like alter my fandom of Ja, and I was a really big Ja Rule fan growing up. And I feel like that happened to a lot of people. Like Ja Rule's career went to fucking shit after that, and it was pretty unfair because it just 50 is like the art of fucking beef. He's the king of the art of beef, and it would be very frustrating to go against him, especially at his peak of his powers, because he just would like ruin you. And Ja made a few mistakes. He, brought Eminem's daughter into the beef, and Eminem is another guy you would never want to beef with, especially at that time. And that Hail Mary freestyle or diss track that they have towards Ja Rule is one of the meanest diss tracks I've ever heard in my life. And it kind of just felt like Ja could never really recover. Then, kind of just became like a punchline, unfortunately.
Where's Ja?
Where's Ja Rule? Fire Festival. Fire Festival wasn't great.
Oh god, that was also
a lot of
bad.
things. But I'm glad Ja's like found his peace, whereas 50 still seems to kind of be a cantankerous, very unhappy man.
I think that's just how 50 is.
I think
do
he's
too.
Just
kind of like a troll. Troll
I think
guy,
he's deeply unhappy, honestly.
You do? I think he's just like a troll. I think he's just like a troll asshole guy. Really?
I think
that's what I think.
I think maybe he's chilled out a little bit for a while. I felt like he was a very miserable person, and that's why he was so petty. But
it's so funny.
He won that beef hands down. Like he fucking murdered Ja Rule in the beef sense. 2, we spent a lot of time just talking about this, but I'll just say it. Kendrick and Drake, to me, like the speed of the releases, it's unprecedented. Kendrick went a lot darker than we've really heard on a beef of the scale. And the only thing I'd say is detracting it from being number one is Kendrick kind of is beating up a punching bag. But it kind of has to be on the list just because of how the historical impact it's had already. And one runaway for me is Jay-Z Nas. It's like the beef of all beefs, you know, it's kind of the most comparable to this current one because Nas kind of was in a lull in his career. Jay-Z poked the bear, brought Nas back to like his form. Nas released Ether, which is considered by many to be the best diss song of all time. Jay-Z, career-wise, didn't really take a big hit, but I think he definitely helped Nas return to prominence and have a whole second act, which would not have really happened if he hadn't sparked this beef. So Jay-Z kind of fucked up in that sense. And I think Jay-Z's mom forcing him to apologize for Super Ugly is another big L that Jay took. But just like from a historical standpoint, when you look into the history of the beef, it's a very interesting beef to read about. And yeah, for me, it'll be number one. I don't think it's going to be very hard to top it. So to me, that's the number one beef of all time.
Did you already mention your honorable mentions?
Yeah, I did. I started off with them, yeah.
For sure. Sounds good. Yeah. Very sophisticated beef list, Sebastian. Thank you. Thank you for the top
I like
five.
the variety that we all had. I thought it was a pretty solid segment, yeah.
Yeah, good one. Okay. Song of the week is mine. I had Young Sherman Pizza Face.
Nice.
I think I showed Brian this song, but I like it a lot. It's a good vibe. Yeah.
Young Sherman, dude.
Sebastian always be laughing when we make song recs, dude. I think be laughing, dude.
I mean, it's not a rap song. It's just a beat. I like.
No, they always have interesting names, and I have to go scope them because they usually sound much doper than their names.
You know,
are.
Young Sherman. I'm sure you do.
I don't know what a Young Sherman is.
I think that's pretty deep. Like, you know, random
Sad Boys, like Young Lean and all that. You show me that.
No, Young Sherman is just a random.
He's a producer who hangs out with Young
producer.
Lean. Yeah, but
I don't think he hangs out with Young
Does he
Lean,
make rap music? I don't really listen to beats. I listen
to he's in the
music
video,
with lyrics.
right? What are you saying?
Is
Okay,
he?
maybe. I'm pretty sure they're in the same crew and they live together. So I could be wrong, but yeah, Young Sherman, Pizza Face.
I can see it also.
Just good mellow track.
Well, Pizza Face is chill.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
It's just the names are always very funny. That's what usually makes me laugh.
We got trying to expand your musical horizons, Sebastian, like you do for me. It's a two-way street.
I'm going to listen to it. Yeah.
Good. Okay. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Brian, for producing and learning how to do YouTube in 1 week. It was really good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Still learning, folks.
Yeah. But I'm glad to have the video on, and I won't drink soup next time at the beginning. But yeah, see you guys next week. Thanks, Sebastian. Thanks, Brian. Until next time.
Peace.
Somebody